Good afternoon, Mike, Joe. Thank you. I feel humbled by your kind words. Thank you to Lee and all my friends and colleagues at the Wilson Center for welcoming me back in September 2007 to my institutional home, the Wilson Center, after I was made unwelcome in my native land. I also owe thanks to those who joined the massive international campaign on my behalf to secure my freedom. I describe this effort in my book, yet hardly do justice to the hundreds of people, many of them in this room today, who took part in it. I would not be here today without them. But I also would like us to remember the many political detainees who remain in Iranian prison and for whose freedom we must continue to speak out. My special thanks goes to all my colleagues who made this event possible, and they know who they are. My prison, my home, whose publications we are marking today, is an account of my lengthy interrogation, arrest, and incarceration in Iran at the hands of Iran's intelligence ministry. It is also something more. I give an account in the book of an Iranian childhood, of growing up in the gentler, simpler Iran of the 1940s and 1950s. I touch on my working career. I was part of a new generation of professional women pursuing careers and pressing for more legal rights and our place in society. And I write about the revolution and the current clash between reform and reaction inside Iran's ruling class. The expanding authority of Iran's security services and the troubled relationship between Iran and the United States, because these form the background, provide part of the explanation as to why I, on a simple visit to see my 93-year-old mother in Tehran, ended up in solitary confinement, accusing of trying to foment a velvet revolution. I will never forget either the early morning of December 30th, 2006, when I was stopped by knife-wielding men from leaving Iran, or the morning of May 8th, 5 months later, when after weeks of interrogation, I was arrested and incarcerated in Evin prison. May 8th was a glorious Tehran spring day for those of you in this audience who remember how beautiful spring is in Tehran. The sky was blue. The trees were bursting with fresh leaves and flowers were in bloom. Yet I was full of anxiety and premonition. I had been summoned yet again to the intelligence ministry, and the night before I had emailed my husband, Shaul, I think they will take me in. A friend drove me to the intelligence ministry. He tried to cheer me up with black humor. Don't worry, he said, I will visit you at Evin prison and bring you lots of parcels. Minutes later, my interrogator handed me my arrest warrant, and within an hour, I was inside Evin prison. In my book, My Prison, My Home, I describe the process of being booked into Evin. I was blindfolded and led around by a female guard, a condition that became part of my daily life at Evin. Walking blindfolded, I discovered, is not only disorienting, it is also humiliating. You hear voices, footsteps, and sounds, but cannot quite place them. You worry that you will crack your head on a low beam or break your legs falling down unseen stairs. You are dependent on others like a child. The woman guard took me to my cell. I heard the door click shut, a quiet click that resounded in my head like thunder. I looked around the bare room. There was only a broken iron sink attached to one wall, and on the other, on the floor, a folded gray blanket and a copy of the Quran. High up on one wall were two rectangular barred windows through which I could see a bit of the sky, and near those windows on the ceiling were two fluorescent lights that remained on day and night. This was my new home. I even didn't have a watch to tell the time of the day. They had taken my watch and my purse, leaving me only my glasses and a hairbrush. My interrogation resumed that same afternoon. The interrogator, who had been an unwelcome presence in my life for 4 months, was joined at Evin by his superior, who went by the name of Haj Agha. At Evin, Haj Agha basically took over the interrogation. He was the boss. I was never allowed to see his face. When he was in the interrogation room, I had to sit facing the wall and talking to a concrete wall. He informed me that his bosses in the intelligence ministry were not satisfied with my responses outside prison. I had not cooperated, he said. I had not unraveled for them America's hidden agenda for regime change in Iran. I had not told them the truth about the role of the Wilson Center and Lee Hamilton in this plot. Tell us about the meeting you had with CIA, State and Defense Department officials in Mr. Hamilton's office. I'm sure Lee did not know how popular he is with the Iranian intelligence ministry. The tone of these interrogations, which sometimes lasted as long as 8 hours, was intimidating and menacing. I was taken before an investigating magistrate who ordered my detention in solitary confinement for 3 months on the charge of endangering the security of the country. Up to that moment, it had never occurred to me that I, a 67-year-old grandmother, barely 5 feet tall and weighing 105 pounds, could be a threat to the security of the most powerful country in the region. My interrogators told me they could keep me much longer, as long as necessary to make me talk. They threatened me with formal trial. They accused me of being a participant in America's conspiracy to overthrow the Islamic Republic. One day, they triumphantly produced a copy of the newspaper Kayhan, which in bold headlines proclaimed me and my husband to be Zionist spies. They invited me to confess, and I just ignored them, knowing quite well they could keep me in prison as long as they wished. Under President Ahmadinejad, the intelligence ministry has grown in power and influence. I lay out this process in some detail in my book. And under interrogation in Evin, I came to know more fully the paranoia that prevails in this intelligence ministry regarding Americans' intentions towards Iran.